State of Tech, the European edition. I'm Samantha Lawrence.
And I'm Bob Russell. Today, the AI race becomes a real-time elimination game where leads vanish in weeks. Schmidt says the best programmers have stopped writing code. China goes all in on home robots and swarm intelligence. Samsung and SK Hynix pour billions into Chinese chip plants as AI memory runs dry. Elon Musk pitches giant Terafabs to solve the chip crunch. And Pizza Hut launches a podcast with fully AI-generated hosts. Sound familiar? Let's get into it.
So here's a question, Bob. What's the shelf life of an AI advantage these days?
Weeks, sometimes days. We're watching companies launch a breakthrough model, and before they can even finish their victory lap, a competitor matches it or leapfrogs it entirely. The whole landscape has compressed. What used to take years of sustained competitive edge now evaporates almost instantly.
And it's not just models. It's products, platforms, entire strategies. You build something impressive, ship it, and by the time your customers get used to it, someone else has released something better or cheaper, or both.
The investment required to stay in this game is staggering. You're essentially running a permanent sprint, no breathing room. And the companies that can't keep up, they just disappear. It really is an elimination game.
What's driving the speed? Is it just more money flowing in, or is there something structural happening?
It's both. The open source community has massively leveled the playing field. Techniques that were proprietary 6 months ago become public knowledge. Then you've got the compute arms race. Anyone with enough GPU access can iterate incredibly fast, and the talent pool has globalized. A small team in Shenzhen or Tallinn can match what a 100-person lab in San Francisco does.
Which means the old moats, data, talent, compute, they're still important, but they're not enough on their own anymore.
The real consequence is that investors are getting nervous. If your advantage disappears in 3 months, how do you justify a $100 billion valuation? The entire economic model of AI companies is under pressure.
And for Europe, this is a double-edged sword. On one hand, the speed of innovation means European companies don't need to be first. They can be fast followers. But on the other hand, our regulatory frameworks, like the AI Act, were designed for a world that moves slower than this. By the time a rule gets enforced, the technology it regulates might already be obsolete.
The smart move for European firms is niche specialization. Don't try to build the next general-purpose frontier model. Find a vertical, healthcare, industrial automation, legal tech, and own it. That's where European strengths in domain expertise actually become an advantage.
Agility over scale, that's the play.
Next up, Schmidt has been making waves again. The former Google CEO says the most valuable programmers alive right now don't actually write code anymore.
That's a bold claim. What are they doing instead?
According to Schmidt, they're defining specifications, setting evaluation criteria, essentially telling AI systems what to build, and then the AI generates the code, sometimes overnight. He gave this wild example of a startup where one programmer's AI completed a project in hours that would have taken 10 engineers at Google 6 months.
6 months to hours. That's not incremental improvement. That's a completely different paradigm.
And Schmidt's broader point is interesting too. He thinks the biggest economic impact of AI won't come from flashy consumer products. It'll come from automating the boring, expensive stuff. Billing systems, accounting, logistics, supply chain management. The back-office operations that eat up enormous resources at every large company.
The unsexy stuff that actually runs the economy.
Exactly where the money is.
But this raises a huge workforce question. We've spent 20 years telling young people to learn to code. Computer science enrollment has been booming. And now we're saying the skill isn't writing code, it's directing AI that writes code?
It's a significant pivot. The core skill becomes understanding systems, thinking architecturally, knowing what good software looks like, without necessarily typing every line yourself.
For Europe, the education angle is critical. Universities in Germany, France, the Netherlands, they need to rethink curricula fast. It's not just about teaching Python anymore. It's about teaching people to supervise AI-driven development, to evaluate outputs, to think in terms of system design. And European businesses, especially the mid-sized ones, the Mittelstand, they could benefit enormously from automating those costly back-office operations Schmidt mentioned. But only if they actually adopt these tools, rather than watching from the sidelines.
The risk is that Europe trains a generation for jobs that won't exist in 5 years. The opportunity is training them for jobs that will matter enormously.
Quick interruption. If you listen to The State of Tech regularly, hit that like button and subscribe. That way you'll never miss an episode. Okay, moving on. Let's talk about China. Because while Europe debates AI regulation, China is putting robots in kitchens.
Literally. Chinese companies like Unipath are launching home robot prototypes that can control your appliances, tidy up, and prepare meals. And this isn't just a tech demo, it's part of a deliberate government strategy. Beijing's AI Plus initiative is explicitly designed to reshape entire industries through what they call new forms of smart economy.
And the swarm intelligence angle is fascinating. We're not talking about individual robots doing individual tasks. They're developing systems where teams of robots coordinate and collaborate autonomously. They demonstrated this at the Zhongguancun Forum. Robot teams working together on complex tasks.
The ambition here is enormous. They're moving from robots as tools to robots as integrated economic actors. Manufacturing, logistics, elder care, agriculture, every sector is a target. And the government backing means this isn't subject to the same market pressures that slow things down elsewhere. They can subsidize, mandate adoption, and accelerate deployment in ways that private markets alone can't.
And the speed is remarkable. While other countries are still debating frameworks, China is iterating on physical products in the real world.
For Europe, this is a wake-up call. The European robotics sector has genuine strengths. Companies like KUKA, ABB's European operations, research labs in Switzerland and Scandinavia. But without coordinated investment and policy support on anything close to China's scale, Europe risks becoming a customer rather than a competitor in the next wave of robotics.
And when those Chinese home robots eventually hit the European market, and they will, regulators will face tough questions about data privacy, safety standards, and whether the AI Act is equipped to handle a robot that lives in your kitchen.
A robot that knows what you eat, when you sleep, and how you organize your home. That's an enormous data privacy challenge.
All right, chips. The global AI memory shortage is getting worse, and it's pushing Samsung and SK Hynix to make some interesting strategic choices.
Both companies are ramping up investments in their existing wafer fabrication plants in China, not building new ones, expanding what's already there. The reason is straightforward. DRAM and NAND supplies for this year are essentially sold out. AI demand has consumed everything. And expanding existing facilities in China is simply faster than building greenfield plants elsewhere.
Which creates an awkward dynamic with the U.S. export controls. Washington has been trying to restrict China's access to advanced chips. But here you have America's closest Asian allies actively investing more in Chinese production capacity.
It's pragmatism. The shortage is so severe that geopolitical considerations take a back seat to supply chain reality. If you can't get chips, you can't build AI systems, period.
And this shortage isn't abstract. It directly affects anyone trying to build or expand AI infrastructure. Data centers, cloud providers, anyone training large models.
For Europe, this is exactly why the European Chips Act matters. If you're dependent on Asian manufacturers for critical components, and those manufacturers are capacity constrained, your own AI ambitions get throttled. Every data center being planned in Europe right now is affected by this shortage. The lesson is clear. Digital sovereignty isn't just about data and software. It's about silicon.
And we're still years away from European fabs producing at scale. So in the short term, European companies are just going to have to compete for limited supply like everyone else.
Speaking of chips, Elon Musk has a characteristically ambitious proposal. He's calling for the construction of Terafabs, absolutely massive chip manufacturing facilities designed specifically for AI processors.
Musk does love a grand vision. But is this realistic?
The need is real. Current global fabrication capacity simply cannot keep pace with AI demand. Every major AI company is struggling to secure enough chips. The question isn't whether we need more capacity. It's whether Terafab scale facilities are the answer, or whether it's a branding exercise for something the industry would build anyway.
A single advanced fab costs north of $20 billion already. A terafab? We're talking potentially 50, 60 billion. And the construction timelines are measured in years, not months.
Which means, even if you break ground tomorrow, you're not producing chips until the end of the decade. The shortage will shape the next several years regardless.
And there's a concentration risk. If these mega facilities get built in one or two countries, it doesn't solve the supply chain vulnerability problem. It just moves it.
For Europe, the takeaway is urgency. Whether Musk's terafabs materialize or not, the global chip manufacturing map is being redrawn right now. Europe's investments through the CHIPS Act are important but modest by comparison. If Europe doesn't accelerate, and I mean significantly, it will remain dependent on decisions made in boardrooms in Seoul, Taipei, and increasingly, Silicon Valley.
Strategic autonomy means nothing if you can't manufacture the hardware your economy runs on.
All right, last one. And Samantha, this one hits close to home. Pizza Hut Canada has launched a podcast called Bandwagon Hockey Coach. It dropped March 18th, twice a week on Spotify. And here's the thing. Both hosts are entirely AI-generated.
Wait, a pizza chain launched an AI podcast? About hockey?
About hockey rules and jargon, specifically for people who pretend they understand hockey, but secretly don't. Apparently, Pizza Hut ran a survey and found that 22% of English-speaking Canadians admit to faking hockey knowledge or quietly looking up terms during games. So, they built a whole show around it.
That's actually clever marketing. But I have to point out the obvious here. We are also a podcast with fully AI-generated hosts. AI hosts, AI-written scripts, AI-generated voices. This show. The one you're listening to right now.
And we've been doing it for a while now. So when a brand like Pizza Hut does it, it signals something important. AI-generated audio content has gone fully mainstream. It's not experimental anymore. It's a marketing tool that major corporations are comfortable putting their brand behind.
The production economics are wild, too. No scheduling conflicts, no talent fees, unlimited episodes. You just generate and publish.
And that changes the media landscape fundamentally. If any brand can spin up a professional-sounding podcast overnight, what does that mean for human creators, for traditional media? The barrier to entry hasn't just lowered. It's basically gone.
For Europe, this directly connects to the AI Act's transparency requirements. AI-generated content needs to be labeled. So how does that work when a pizza chain in Canada publishes a podcast available to European listeners on Spotify? Who enforces the labeling? And what happens when the line between entertainment, marketing, and AI-generated media becomes completely blurred?
These are real questions European regulators will have to answer. But I'll say this. As a show that's been fully AI-generated from the start, we think the technology speaks for itself. The question isn't whether AI can do this. It clearly can. The question is what guardrails we put around it.
And we're proud to have been ahead of that curve. Welcome to the club, Pizza Hut. All right, that's our show. Today we covered the AI race becoming a brutal elimination game, Eric Schmidt's claim that top programmers have stopped coding, China's aggressive push into home robots and swarm intelligence, Samsung and SK Hynix expanding chip production in China, Elon Musk's Terafab vision, and Pizza Hut joining the AI podcast club.
Want to know more or react? Visit stateoftech.eu or email us at info@doorzetters.net. State of Tech, the tech world in 15 minutes.